knows what you should be doing, even though they don't know your life, your stories, your desires, your fears, your family, your obligations. I'm hoping this podcast gives you the opportunity to think about what you want, to listen to your still small voice.
Welcome back. I'm Jennifer. Thanks for joining me this week. So this week I consider to be the last week before the holiday rush. And granted, at any point in time, you can change your mind and do a different thing. I find that for my focus and comfort, and actually my joy, that I like to go into the holidays with a plan. It might be a sliver of a plan. It might be one thing, but I need a plan. Sometimes my plans are just not to do something or just to do that one certain thing. And, there have been years that I just want to overhaul it all and see what happens. That is not this year, though. So luckily, to remind myself of this, I do want to mention, if you have not already listened to or follow Beth Kimpton and the Calm Christmas podcast, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Her first episode was out this past week, and she takes you through the holiday season, starting, I think it was last week, this past Thursday, through to the beginning of the year. It just might give some more ideas for space and time and peace and ease and some more support, particularly for opting out should you want to have that support and should you decide to do that. So I highly, highly recommend it, and I will link it in the show notes. In any case, for me, this is the time to think about what you want and what you don't want for the next 6 weeks to the end of the year. And particularly when it comes to specific holiday traditions and expectations, most particularly. The calendar for me, right, is starting to fill up, or the invitations are coming in and the plans are being made, and I am trying to figure out which ones I'm saying yes to, which ones I'm saying no to, and what type of minefields I might need to navigate at that same time. And as we talked about last week, there are things that you can choose to opt out of. And then there are things you may not be able to choose to opt out of, especially if you don't have the capacity to work against that this holiday season. So again, I'm always for opting out if at all possible, but I also know there are times that you got to do things you might not want to do just because you do not want to be dealing with the arguments or the frustration or the resentment. And sometimes you do the thing you don't want to do for those you love. That doesn't mean it doesn't take anything out of you. So we got to be thinking about that. And that's what this week's episode is all about. It's that preparing and adjusting when we can, and then trying to figure out the best ways for recovery. Again, maybe it is just me, but I feel like every social event takes way more out of me than I ever planned or anticipated. So trying to be proactive with that, especially at this time of year, where even those who do love being out and about can find themselves drained and frustrated. So when it comes to stuff like this, when it comes to like the events I don't want to do, or, the things that I kind of don't want to get out of this year, my first line of defense is to clear as much else off of my calendar and my plate as I can. It's not ideal because it means a lot of times I have to remove things that I do want to do, things that are important to me, but at the same time, I have to know that at the end of the day, this will be better for me. I always think that I have more capacity and patience than I really do, and I think if it's something I want to do, I'll be totally okay. And usually that is not the case. I would like to say it's 50-50, but it's really not. And while I always have patience and love for other people, and in front of other people, usually when I get home from things, I find myself losing a day or two or a week just because of how drained I am. So in the end, when I have eliminated things off my calendar in the past, I've been grateful, even if they were something I really wanted to do, because I had that time and space and energy to kind of keep recovering and keep living my life. It has become so normal to just rush around, in particular during the holiday season, like it's a badge of honor that you're like running around to 16 different things. I really am trying to focus on myself this year, invite myself this year, and I invite anybody else to do less of the running between the things and trying to squeeze the things in. In preparing, I'm trying to make space, I'm making time, I'm trying to do anything I can that means heading into whatever the event I'm doing, if it's a Christmas holiday with the family, if it's some party on a Friday night, anything I can do to make it easier. There have been times I've scheduled something before or after. Usually those are the first things to go just because I don't want to be time crunched. It might be like after like 2 weeks later. I know other people who've had success scheduling a massage or scheduling a lunch with a friend to catch up, more of a recharge sort of thing. And again, I want to say I hesitate to use these because sometimes they just might add more anxiety than not having anything on the calendar at all. But again, as you know, you do you. You decide what's right for you, and you figure it out as we go. All right, so now, after preparing, now we're on to adjusting. This is my other favorite technique, and if there's any way I can do it, I find a lot of times that events are just too much. They're either too long or there's just too much going on. So I will try, if at all possible, to maybe stay for the first half and then leave after. Or maybe I just come for the social part after. Like, say if there's like a presentation or something, maybe I'll do the presentation in 5 minutes and then, or play or whatever it is, and then maybe stay for 15 minutes after, chat, hit the people who I know I wanted to, see and congratulate, and then leave. Or sometimes I'll just come for the social event and maybe not watch the production. So the other thing that I work on is maybe that there's something I can do that makes me part of the event, or something I can bring. I find that I feel better at large gatherings when I have a task, or if I'm volunteering, or if I have a focused purpose. It just makes me feel better for being there because I'm supporting something rather than just standing around and chit-chatting. I have a very, very, very hard time with that. If you give me a job, and you give me a job in like the kitchen or serving people or logistics, like, I'm thrilled because I don't have to be out there wandering around trying to make conversation when all I really want to do is be at home in bed. It's harder for me to remember that I could be home in bed when I'm focused on a task. Maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't. So think about it. Can you adjust the event in any way? Can you go for the part that's really important to your family and opt out of the other part? Or like, are you able to walk away into the bathroom for 5 minutes, maybe every 30 minutes? Is there a way you can take a break and walk to your car? Is there any way you can kind of build some downtime within it, either by shortening the commitment or taking breaks throughout it? Those actually do serve a much stronger role than you may realize. You only realize it like 3 days later, where you're like, oh, if I had stayed for that, like, that would have pushed me over the edge. Maybe you can tell like your family and just prep them in advance. I'm going to take breaks for 5 minutes, or maybe you don't tell them. That's a whole other thing. Maybe not to tell them, or maybe you just have to go to the bathroom a lot. There have been many times I've just done that, and I'm not all about pulling the phone out to kind of check out. I don't really like doing that, but at the same time, there's some times where I will literally use it, and I'll be like, I have to go take a call, or someone texted me, I have to go do something. Now, granted, I'm not on the phone after that. I will pull it out and pretend I will be. And again, that's an extreme use. Like, I don't use it often. It really only if the situation calls for it, because for some reason we're totally okay letting people take calls and look at phones, but we're not okay with like someone being like, I'm overwhelmed and I need to walk away. But again, just if you've got to use it, it's always there. So we've prepared, we've adjusted, and now we're at recovery. We're over the thing. And if you have cleared the decks, if you've prepared and given yourself time and space, it will make this so much easier. If you're someone who does want to do something or put something on the calendar to look forward to, maybe it's a visit to a favorite store. Maybe it's like just wandering around a shop one day. I'm all about a total antisocial day where you're not responding to people or pay attention to anything at all. That is my preferred recovery, especially after late evening events with a lot of socialization. So I know, at least for me and probably for others, this time of year can be really challenging. But I find that sometimes if you've done the big social thing, you might be able to get away with a day or two without having to do anything. You might, like, the big event is this, so you can kind of, in a day or two after, it's almost easier for you to be offline without kind of anybody knowing or needing you. Just trying to pay attention to the people who matter most and kind of what they want, need, and what you want to give and provide. But also not letting yourself feel guilty if at some point you just phone in a commitment and do the bare minimum. So that's our focuses for this coming week. This is my focus. I say our, like I have a mouse in my pocket, but that's my focus for this coming week. Thinking about what's coming up, what's the bare minimum of things that I have to do for the things I'm not thrilled to do this year. What's the bare minimum that I need to do in around everything else? What do I need to do to keep myself supported through all of this? And I have to remember that because I don't want to make myself more stressed trying to take care of myself. That just defeats the purpose. I've done it a few times, speaking from experience. Adding stress to yourself, like I should be taking better care of myself, usually doesn't work. And the thing I need to remind myself is to make adjustments as I go. That's just the reality of it. And none of it will probably go remotely to plan like I expected. And that's kind of the joy and the fun and the frustration of the holidays. It's just kind of the situation. It is what it is. So listening to ourselves, planning in advance, adjusting and listening to ourselves throughout, and then listening to ourselves, giving some time at the end, hopefully giving yourself the love and mercy and peace that you hope to give others this season. Next episode, we'll talk about maybe other ways of celebrating the holidays and still being grateful for all of it, the good, the bad, and the in-between. Thanks for joining me, and keep listening.
Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm so glad. And if you didn't, well, that's fine too. Thanks for giving it a try. You can do all the things if you so desire. You can subscribe, rate, review, follow emoji, whatever it is you feel called to do. Please do what you feel called to do. If you take nothing else from this podcast, please take that. I do appreciate any feedback that you may have. You can reach out to me at my email address found in the show notes. Thank you so much.